Welcome to Green Gaming. I'm Jason, the creator of the Army Showcase and host of the Tabletop Battlefield podcast over at www.tabletopbattlefield.com. And if you've never seen the show before, well, what it's all about is we take trash and other oddball little items here and try to turn them into something cool for your miniature wargaming table. Now, in the very first episode of Green Gaming, I took a dental floss container and turned it into a Tau Empire secret missile battery. I'm going to do something similar to that, but this time around we're actually going to build a turret that has a full rotating top to it, so you can move the little gun emplacement around wherever you want, face it whatever direction, tilt whatever angle you want. So for this project, you need the dental floss container again. That's going to become the turret. You're going to take an empty pudding cup. This is going to become the base of the turret. You're going to need a broken table tennis ball, one that's probably snapped from years of being played with. And you're going to need a pen that doesn't work. I recommend using the Tri-Grip pens. I'm not sure who they're by, but I bought a package of them and they all just failed on me. They're terrible. So I recommend using the Tri-Grip pens for this project. You're also going to need weights. So in this case here, I've actually went outside, got some rocks and some bits of concrete that I found laying in my front yard. We're going to use that to actually weight some things down. So now step one is to cut a hole in the inner cup of the top of the pudding cup. Well, what I mean, I should explain what I mean here now. Obviously, the top of the pudding cup is going to become the bottom of the base. The bottom of the pudding cup is going to become the top of the base where the emplacement is going to go. So therefore, when I refer to the top of the pudding cup, I'm actually referring to the bottom. Figure that, keep track of that one in your head. So on the bottom here, you've kind of got this inner circle here. That's kind of goes with a little rim around it. Cut this inner circle out. Now this process is actually more difficult than it looks. These cups are pretty flimsy, and applying pressure to them will cause them to bend and kind of squish down really easily. So be very careful if you're going to use a hobby knife, and you may, once you get the cut starting to go, you may want to consider just trying to use some small scissors so that it doesn't apply so much pressure. There we go. You can see here now we got the hole cut out. Stick your hands right through it, and you're good to go. So that's pretty much all you're going to do for the base part of the emplacement. We're going to start working on the turret now. Now take the busted table tennis ball. Now in order to use it, at least half of it has to be in good shape. I've actually already cut the half off. So pick a table tennis ball where there's maybe one of the seams is cracked or someone got a hole in it. Don't take one that someone stepped on, because that's not going to work. Like I said, you need at least half of it to be intact. Now it needs to be attached to the bottom of the dental floss container. Now in this case, the bottom of the dental floss container is the side which does not have the hinge for the top. So here's the top. It opens this way, hinges on this side of the dental floss container. So the bottom down here, this is going to be called the bottom. In most cases, it seems to be where the label is at. What you want to do is now attach the table tennis ball as close as you can to the top or to the opening edge of the dental floss container as possible. The reason you want to do this is for balance purposes later on when we start attaching your guns. Using a marker, trace out a circle around the table tennis ball as close as you can get it to the edge. Just be able to hold it up. I've got a little circle traced out on this dental floss package. Run a little bit of hot glue around the inside of that circle, not on the circle, on the inside, because if you run it on it, you're actually going to be putting the glue outside where the table tennis ball is. And of course, be careful, don't glue the top of the dental floss container shut. You want to leave it open. Now the other thing you have to do to get the turret ready is actually glue the top of the dental floss container open. So to glue it open the lid of the dental floss container and put a little bit of glue at the base of the hinge, or maybe about 1/8 of an inch away from the base of the hinge. So you can see there now, you got a little line of glue about 1/8 of an inch away from the hinge, and just jam the top all the way open. And you should get something that looks like this from the side. So you got the table tennis ball on the bottom, your hinge is now going to be glued open on the top. Oh, the other thing to be careful of, whoopsie, well don't drop it. So don't glue this plastic thing on the inside here in there either. You need to be able to make that removable, not only for assembly, but for balancing and things like that. As you can see here now, if you go ahead and take your little turret and attach it to the base, you can see now, thanks to the little table tennis ball on the hole, you can kind of bend this thing around and move it around and kind of face it in a variety of different angles. So that's the idea of how you create the movable turret, and also then when the thing gets blown up, you can pull the weapons have been blown up. If we're going to get a hold of the section, we're going to start building the weapons. What you're going to do is take your pen and disassemble it. Remove the ink cartridge, you don't want that spilling out anywhere. And just remove any extra little pieces that are sticking around. So all you've really got left is the main tube of the pen. Here we go. Now you want to cut it in half. And now to cut this in half, don't use a hobby knife. It's not going to work very well. You want to find yourself a small saw blade. If you have a small saw, that works great. One of the hobby things, a hacksaw would work fine. I'm actually just taking a hacksaw blade and I've wrapped a bunch of tape around one end. It's kind of, well, yeah, it's kind of jury-rigged, but it works. You can see here I've got a longer barrel and a shorter one. They're going to be the two distinct weapons that the turret's going to carry on it. Want to make sure the barrels are nice and flat in terms of both the exit point and where they attach to the dental floss container. You may want to take a file and kind of smooth them down a little bit. It's kind of optional because you can also patch little holes with little bits of glue and things. But if you want it to look really nice, take a file and kind of flatten things out. Now, using some sort of tool, extract the plastic piece from inside the dental floss container. Of course, this is the piece that normally have the spool where the dental floss goes, and it's also got the little plastic thing, or the little metal thing, sorry, that where you cut the dental floss with. And if I show it up here, you've got two kind of extended ends that stick out a little bit further here that where it lock into the dental floss container with. Then you've got a recessed area. Attach your gun barrels to this recessed area, sticking vertically from it. There we go. You can see here now I've glued on the gun barrels on a little plastic piece. Now let's take this whole thing and stick this plastic piece back into the dental floss container. Actually, let's give it a minute to let it dry. Because you don't want to accidentally glue this thing in just quite yet, because you're still going to have to add counterbalance. So I'll explain about that in just a minute. Now go ahead and take your base back out and put your turret back on. And what you're going to notice is a lot of times now, you just kind of set the turret up and it immediately falls back down, because obviously now the weight of the gun barrels is causing it to always slump down, except when it's, in this case, when it's in its highest position. So we need to add some counterweights in the back of the dental floss container to allow you to balance the whole thing out well. So once again, let's go ahead and let's pop out this little plastic piece. This is where things get a little bit of trial and error going. So I went outside, like I said, and got some rocks and bits of concrete and put a few in at a time. You don't want too many. I'm going to start with, let's do those three big pieces. Well, let's toss the fourth one for kicks. So put four of them in there, or put some in there so it's not a huge weight change. And then take some hot glue and run some hot glue in there to hold them down. Let's stick it back on the emplacement and see how well it works now. Well, it works pretty good. I can do nice, relatively level. I can do it nice and high. I can do it even kind of low. So that's in this case, it's probably a pretty good weight. You may have to fit around depending on what you use for your gun barrels. You may have to re-weight things a little bit, but that worked pretty good. That's about it. So let's call this project done. That's really that simple. It's ready to be used in your battles. Just go ahead, paint it up, and then I guess, well, once you paint it up, it's ready to be used in your battles, unless you don't care about painting things up, which, hey, that may be what you're into. I prefer to paint my stuff up. But regardless, once again, I'm Jason. Thanks for watching Green Gaming. For more information on World of Miniature Wargaming or to submit your own content, check out the Army Showcase and Tabletop Battlefield podcast over at www.tabletopbattlefield.com. And of course, we want to see what creations you create. So go ahead. It's really simple. It takes only 4 minutes to post your first page on the Army Showcase. So with that, have a good night, and we'll see you on the next episode of Green Gaming.